Good morning, everyone. We're going to get started. We've got quite a program today, so we're going to get started right on time. Good morning and welcome to the Wilson Center. I'm Sarah Barnes, and I lead the Maternal Health Initiative here at the center. For those of you who are not familiar with the Woodrow Wilson Center, it is a living memorial to President Woodrow Wilson, who remains the only president to have earned a PhD. The center is nonpartisan. It's true. People are always Googling it right as I say it, but it's true. It's a nonpartisan and non-advocacy policy forum, and we're focused on independent research, open dialogue like we have here today, and actionable ideas. And the Maternal Health Initiative is just one of the center's thematic programs. So we work across regions, and we really explore a wide range of policy-related topics focused on the health of women, the health of adolescents, and of children. So this year, we've been fortunate enough to partner with World Vision on a 3-part event series. The first 2 events we held were in May, and the first focused on healthy timing and spacing of pregnancy. The second was on involving men and boys in HIV prevention work. So today we're thrilled to also be partnering with World Vision to bring you an event focused on adolescent girls' health and education, particularly focused on HIV/AIDS and the DREAMS Innovation Challenge. I'm sure many of you are familiar and you'll learn a lot about DREAMS today, but I just wanted to give a brief overview. DREAMS is a global public-private partnership led by the U.S. President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, or PEPFAR, and is managed by JSI Research and Training Institute, Inc., and is committed to reducing new HIV infections among adolescent girls and young women in sub-Saharan Africa. MHI recently held another event focused on adolescents and health. And one of the main learnings that I walked away with was that in addition to being knowledgeable about the increased risks adolescents face, it's also very important to remember that adolescence can and should be a positive time for young people. So it's the time to really support young people's access to information, to education, skills, and to services to help offer a healthy and safe transition into adulthood. DREAMS is an example of this type of support of youth and addresses the structural drivers that increase girls' HIV risk, including poverty, gender inequality, sexual violence, and lack of education. Today, we have an incredible group of panelists, including 2 Youth DREAMS beneficiaries, here to discuss these structural drivers and to talk to us about emerging lessons, best practices, and preliminary findings of the DREAMS Innovation Challenge. We have several speakers here today who have traveled from Kenya, Uganda, Zambia. Please help me in thanking them for all of their efforts to be here today. I would also like to thank Julie DeSoto from World Vision and Jamie Rosen from JSI for all of the coordination to make this event happen, and my own mighty team at MHI for all of your hard work. For today's event, we have 2 amazing speakers to start us off, and then we will invite the panel to the stage to talk to us about some of the innovations of DREAMS. And then before we close the event today, we will have an interactive Q&A with the audience, and we encourage those who are watching the live feed to please send in questions to @Wilson_MHI. At last check, we had over 100 people registered to watch the live webcast, so that's pretty incredible today. So now I will turn things over to our panelists, starting with our moderator, Falami Harris. Falami is currently the project director for the DREAMS Innovation Challenge Funds Manager at JSI Research and Training Institute, Inc. As funds manager, JSI supports 46 organizations funded by PEPFAR to implement DREAMS programs in 10 countries. With JSI staff based in most of these countries, JSI manages the funds, develops grantees' institutional capacity to manage their awards, and provides technical assistance and monitoring for overall program performance. Falami and all the speakers' full bios are printed and available outside of the room. So thank you again for coming to the Wilson Center, and another warm welcome for all of our speakers.
Thank you, Sarah. The arrangement of justice does not stand of themselves. There is one thing that the American people always rise to: the truth of justice. It is going to lead us and through us, the world, into pastures of quietness and peace. So said Woodrow Wilson. The truth of justice is being manifested through the lives of the young women we are here to listen to this morning. And so I will start off with inviting you to watch the video that has been put together by World Vision, and we will continue. Thank you.
Seen a lot of challenges in life. I've known what life is. I dropped out of school because of poverty. My parents were not able to pay my school fees since they are just peasant farmers. I didn't have somebody to support me because I don't have my dad and my mother is not there. I only live with my grandma. I was just home there doing no academic job, but helping my parents with housework. Boys see you that you're a dropout now, they start coming to disturb you. It overpowers me, those challenges overpowers me, and sometimes I even had the heart of giving up. I was very bad thinking it was the end of life.
Identifying that maybe students are about to drop out of school, we did not have such an idea. You would go to class, you make a roll call, and maybe you discover that maybe 2 or 3 students have dropped out. And for us, we thought it was normal.
So we, as the peer leaders, we get to know the reason why these girls are dropping out of school and what exactly the challenges they are facing. My main role is just to educate the girls on the importance of education, how to protect themselves, and to be also exemplary to them.
I had to send a teacher, go through the home and look for Irene because I knew she's a brilliant girl.
Adong Irene, have you ever heard about the man?
The goal I set for my life, I had not yet achieved it. That's why it was so wonderful that I come back to school.
We decided to go with the teacher to visit her and find out why she was not in school.
My mom was scared because she thought they were just going to maybe arrest her because of the other balance. So we were scared but when she said she was going to bring me back to school, and from there we were now happy.
She was overwhelmed by happiness that we had visited her.
I feel great, I feel happy. It was so good that night. Abnormal profit in a short run, but still under perfect competition.
Both arts and sciences, she was the best performer.
When the price is high, the quantity demanded will be low.
Dreams helped us to ensure that we also retain girls who will be safe, who will not be endangered by HIV or get into marriage at an early stage, but continue with their studies.
I really have great ambitions in my life. I have big dreams to achieve. I want to be a lawyer. Now I'm seeing a future for tomorrow. I'm now seeing my family somewhere because I've managed to come back to school. So from here, we're going to do our short-run marginal cost. My dream is to become an accountant. united the whole nation.
The truth of justice. Our first speaker to lead us down this road is Dr. Anjali Atrekar. She is the acting principal deputy coordinator of the Office of the U.S. Global AIDS and coordinator and health diplomacy. I'd like to invite her to come to the stage.
Thank you, Falumi. Thank you all. It's so wonderful to be here. I really want to first start off by thanking the Wilson Center for hosting such an incredible event. I also want to thank JSI, World Relief, World Vision rather, and particularly the partners in the room that are also joining via webcam, but also the young women that have made the trip from all parts of Africa to be here with us today. It is so important to hear your voice. I think the video, it gets me every time. Just the voices that we hear from you are why we do this. This is why we continue to do this every single day. So, it's, I want to start by taking us back. This season, December, cold, 4 years ago, when we first launched Dreams, it was the biggest, boldest vision, I think, that Ambassador Birx, who I'm privileged to be here today to speak on behalf of, this was the biggest, boldest vision that she and our team, who's here in the second row here, our small Dreams team at the office, put together this incredible public-private partnership that was comprised of the Gates Foundation, Gilead, Johnson & Johnson, ViiV Healthcare, Girl Effect, together with 10 African countries at the time to see if we could try something big, bold, different, innovative, to really not focus on the problems of adolescent girls and young women, but the potential, the possibility, and the power that each one of them represents. This public-private partnership that was launched 4 years ago around this time has really transformed, I would say, a huge portion of the world. And it's humbling to be here with all of you and so many of you who are implementing this broad program across now 15 countries that is having a transformative impact on the lives of so many adolescent girls and young women. To date, since that launch in 2014, we have invested over $800 million in the entire partnership and program to serve these adolescent girls and young women. We had one intention, and that was really to have an impact on these lives of the adolescent girls and young women, to really show that we could bring multiple sectors together, multiple solutions together to really address the issues and various factors that have been impacting adolescent girls, the lives of adolescent girls and young women. So really bringing multiple solutions to one problem with that vision of ensuring that every adolescent girl and young woman could grow up to be determined, resilient, empowered, AIDS-free, mentored, and safe women. Dreams, and I have to say, now as we reflect this World AIDS Day, which just passed December 1st, a couple weeks ago, and we were able to share our latest results, which I'll talk about in a second. Dreams has really exceeded our wildest imagination. It has exceeded our wildest dreams. The impact of the program and the people that have joined hands with us to make this a reality for so many adolescent girls and young women has been extraordinary. In 2017, we released our latest, the impact of the program after 13 months of implementation. And at that time, this was in 2017, at that time, the Dreams program that had been implemented in as I said, 10 different countries across Africa in the highest burdened HIV districts and communities that comprised over 60 districts. At that time, we were seeing extraordinary impact, real impact. New diagnoses were decreasing among adolescent girls and young women. So these are not, outputs. These are true outcomes that we were after. We saw that at that time in 2017, over 60% of those highest burdened communities saw a decrease in new diagnoses, up to 25% decrease in new diagnoses. This year, on World AIDS Day, or the week that preceded World AIDS Day, we released our latest 2018 results. And what we have seen has been extraordinary. The impact that we saw in 2017 has continued and expanded. We now see that that over, or I should say not over, but in 85% of those districts now, we're seeing continued decrease in HIV diagnoses among adolescent girls and young women. So the impact is continuing. It's continuing strong. And we're also seeing that in 8 of the highest burdened districts or communities that were previously showing a less than 25% decrease in new diagnoses have now switched, and they are actually having a greater than 25% decrease in new diagnoses. That's really remarkable, particularly when we talk about certain districts where the new infections among adolescent girls and young women are extraordinarily high, like in South Africa or Lesotho, for instance. So we're just really proud of these results. They're not our results, they're your results. They're your results. And so many other people's across the globe. So we're really thrilled about that. And I want to spend a minute to talk about the program that brings us, the project that brings us here today, which is really looking at the Dreams Innovation Challenge and the impact that's seen over time as well. So again, launched in 2016 to really complement this broader Dreams program that I just described. The focus of the Dreams Innovation Challenge was really threefold. One, to bring new innovation and solutions to complement the broader Dreams program that we were implementing. Two, to really seek out and fund new implementing partners, new and diverse and different implementing partners to bring diversity, innovation, creativity to the programming that we were implementing. And three, to really support those smaller, peer-led, community-based, local grassroots organizations to bring those voices to the table and into implementation with the broader Dreams program. And we're so pleased that through the Dreams Innovation Challenge, which JSI has been an incredible partner in really monitoring and providing that oversight to the challenge, has really, we've really brought new partners to the game. We've brought innovation, and we've seen small organizations rise and implement with us. And we're thrilled to be able to hear the panel that will follow, that really will talk about some of these great innovations that have come through the Innovation Challenge Fund. But we've also released our overarching results from the Innovation Challenge this World AIDS Day as well. And we're pleased that the entire program that, again, complements the broader Dreams partnership has reached almost 150,000 adolescent girls and young women with HIV education and awareness efforts, has reached over 88,000 adolescent girls and young women with key interventions that are keeping them in school, many of which we'll hear about today, has increased PrEP enrollment, which is really important to the work that we're doing for over 9,000 adolescent girls and young women. And I think importantly, and something we've got to do more of, is we've reached 30,000 younger women with workforce development and economic interventions. We've got to do more of that, but we've reached that many and hope to do so much more. So the key now is for all of us to work together to figure out how, with the Innovation Challenge and the solutions that are coming out of that, how with the Broader Dreams program that's now being implemented in 15 countries, how we sustain these gains that we've made. How do we bring these innovations and solutions to scale? How do we bring the voices that we heard from the video and we'll hear shortly from Rebecca and Sheila and others? How do we bring those voices to be heard across the continent in Africa and the other countries where we're working? So I want to commend you all for extraordinary work on the Broader Dreams program and the Dreams Innovation Challenge thus far. But I also want to challenge you all and all of us together to really maintain and sustain the work that we've been doing together and make sure that we continue to reach and impact more and more adolescent girls and young women as we move forward. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Atrika, for helping us to look at the perspective and to take us through a substantive background on how we got to where we are right now. Now we're going to hear from our next speaker, Rebecca Asio, who is our youth ambassador from World Vision's Strengthening Accountability in Girls' Education. And so I invite you to join us on the stage.
All protocols observed in your various capacities, good morning. My name is Achio Rebecca, a student at St. Catherine Secondary School, Lira, in the northern part of Uganda. I'm a peer educator at my school. I was 13 years old when I started experiencing school fees problem, but the situation worsened in 2016 when I was in senior 4. Each term, they chase me more than 5 times at home. And each time I go home, I stay for more than 2 weeks. The last time I went home, I stayed for 1 month. I didn't have hope of going back to school, but I just went to do my final exams that I managed to pass with a first grade. In 2017, when I was 17 years old, I finally dropped out of school because my parents could not support me anymore. They are just peasant farmers that earn very little income. While at home, I helped my parents with garden work. We used to work in people's garden and also borrow gardens from well-wishers to farm our own to get food for the family. I also started baking cake to get some income to buy basic needs like sanitary pads and food for the family because it was difficult for us to push on. Being the fourth born of 6 children in a family, our firstborn got pregnant in P7, in primary 7, because of school fees problem. Our second-born is a boy. He struggled and reached senior 4, but he finally dropped out because my mom couldn't support him anymore. And there, he got married and is having a child. Our third-born got pregnant in primary 6. All these girls were teenagers. And in that order, everyone in the community knew I was the next. But I was so determined that until I achieve my dream of becoming an accountant, I will not drop out of school and I will not get pregnant. I vowed to myself that even if my follower gets pregnant, I will not, though it was not my prayer for her. One day, I met my teacher in church, who was very surprised to see me because they don't expect a first grader to stay at home. There he asked me very many questions. Are you pregnant? Are you sick? Why are you at home? But I told him it's because of school fees problem. That's why I'm at home. He felt pity for me. But little did I know, Sage Dreams program and the World Vision was already at my school. He went back to school and reported my case to the Stay in School Committee, who that very Sunday came to our home, led by the head teacher, Mrs. Nangwala Rose Nakwagala, and the focal point teacher for Dreams, teacher Rachel Ateng, and our deputy head teacher, Mr. Okai Michael Okipi, and the teacher who met me in charge, Mr. Oluma Tom. When we first saw them, my mother and I were very scared. We thought they had come to arrest my mother because of the school fees balance which remained in year 2016. But they told us no, we have come to take Rebecca back to school. My mother and I started to cry tears of joy. I went back to school that very time with them, and I read like never before. I worked very hard. That missing out for 2 terms, I was able to top my class in the promotional term to senior 6. There, I was elected as a peer educator, and as a peer educator, I knew what it cost to be a dropout, and I took charge in the identification of students who are at risk of dropping out of school using the ABC predictors in the early warning system and the World Vision. I also conduct mentoring and counseling of my peers on the challenges we are facing at school. I lead sessions on selected topics like HIV/AIDS, self-esteem, confidence, determination, decision-making, and more. As a peer educator, Dreams had already taught me how to make sanitary towels, so I passed out the information to the rest of the girls. I make pads for my own use, both at home and in school, and also I make and sell to the rest at home to meet my basic needs, but I also teach girls at school how to make sanitary towels. I'm so happy that I finished my secondary school in November, and I want to go to the university to study economics and statistics so that I can achieve my dream of becoming an accountant. As a peer educator, this project has benefited me a lot. First, the project brought me back to school because they were being able to identify me using A as a predictor in the early warning system. The project taught me how to make sanitary towels, which I made it for my use, and also I sell to get income, and I passed out the knowledge to the rest. The project mentored me as a peer educator to reach out to other girls on issues like communication skills, confidence, determination, and more. The project also availed HIV/AIDS services like testing and counseling at my school, where all of us tested for HIV/AIDS. Unfortunately, majority of us were negative, and we were advised to remain negative in the struggle to eliminate this dangerous virus in Uganda and in the world. Those few who were found positive, they were counseled, and they were advised to live positively because many have made it with the virus and it's not the end of life, and so they were comfortable to stay at school. And the rest were also taught not to make fun of those students so that they can feel comfortable in school. The project also availed talking compounds to our school, like delay sex, stay with safety friends to keep safe, and more messages, which helped me a lot because it made my work very easy as a peer educator because students were informed all time. But as a peer educator, I also encountered some challenges. Most students drop out of school because of school fees problem. And as a peer educator from a humble background, I cannot bring such students back to school because I don't have money also to pay for their fees. Some students stay far away from the school. Our school is in Lira district, but others stay out of Lira district. They stay in other districts. I identify them right, but reaching them is very difficult because I don't have transport money and I don't own a car to go to those far places. Some students also drop out because of domestic violence at home. And as a 19-year-old peer educator, it makes it very difficult for me to discuss those issues with like a 40-year-old parent. But for such issues, I refer them to the adults in the stay in school committee, which has also helped a lot to bring those students back to school. As a peer educator, I have also some personal challenges which has not made me to do my job to the maximum because we don't have our permanent home. We are just inhabitants of inhabited home. So we keep shifting from place to place because if this time around we are staying here and the owner of the house wants the house, so we have to transfer again. So before I reach every girl in the community, we have to transfer again. There I go, I get used to the system there, but I start my work, but before I reach all of them again, we have to transfer, which has made me not to reach every girl in the community. Sometimes we lack food at home, and I can't go talk to the peers with an empty stomach. And as a leader, I have us to be smart, but at times we lack clothing at home, which makes me sometimes to feel shy because if I'm not smart, I cannot talk to the rest with confidence. There is also limited time at home because coming from a humble background, I need to work very hard because while at home, I continued baking cake to see that my younger siblings are going to school. They have books, they have pens, the family is eating. So most of my time I take baking the cake and selling them, and I remain with little time to meet with my peers. But as a peer educator, I've also achieved a lot. I was able to help other girls remain in school using the ABC predictors in the early warning system because once I identify a student is at risk of dropping out of school, I find out what the problem is and I deal with it accordingly to make sure that student doesn't drop out of school. As a peer educator, I've also managed to reduce corporal punishment at our school because it scares students from school. I encourage positive discipline. I achieve this through talking to teachers that corporal punishment is not good. It's not a good way to discipline children. So they have reduced and that risk has probably reduced and students are no longer dropping out of school because of corporal punishment. Menstrual problem is no longer a problem in my school because as a peer educator, I managed to teach almost every girl in the school how to make sanitary towels and they can make for their own use. So they no longer drop out because of menstrual problem. As a peer educator, I managed to talk to the school administration because as a way to prevent HIV, abstinence is a method, but other students, they have high sexual feelings that make them not to choose abstinence as a method. So I request the school to avail condoms to the school nurse so that these students can use to prevent pregnancy and also HIV/AIDS. But those students who unfortunately gets pregnant at school, I've managed to talk to the school administration to give them a second chance, because others get pregnant not because of their wish, maybe they are raped, maybe unfortunately, but they still have that desire to study. So second chance are now given to them to come back to school and study. And as you can see from my story, it is really, really important programming for adolescent girls, and it makes a difference in life. And I hope, and it's my humble request, that there will be a continued support to such a program like SAGE, so that girls can be determined, resilient, empowered, AIDS-free, mentored, and safe. I thank GSI, World Vision, and PEPFAR for the smile you brought in my face. Before, I never knew I could smile this big, but I'm smiling. Thank you very much for the wonderful job you've done in Uganda and in other countries. Thank you for reaching out to the adolescents, and thank you for reducing the risk of dropouts in Uganda. Thank you very much.
We thank Rebecca and all who've contributed to emboldening this spirit, to strengthening the courage, the commitment you've heard, the courage to challenge, to not just stay in school, but to take on a school system around corporal punishment, around giving girls a second chance. These are the manifestations, the materialization of truth in justice. And we thank you very much for sharing. I'd like to continue our journey by inviting other members of the panel who will talk to us a little bit more about the programs and some of the pieces that they've had to deal with in designing and implementing their programs. So I'm going to ask for Rita Laura Lulua to please join us on the stage. She is the project director for World Vision's SAGE project. I'd like to as well ask Judy Mwangi to join us on the stage. She is representing ACWIT in the absence of its executive director. She is, Judy, that is, the senior program manager for Dreams IC in East Africa. Thank you. I'd like to as well invite Sheila Omolo, our second youth ambassador, who will be talking about our experiences through ACWIT. And finally, I'd like to invite Jane Kinney to join us. Jane Kinney Myers is the founder and president of Lubutu Library Partners, and she will share her story as well. Thank you. Rita, please lead us.
All protocol observed. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am privileged to be here this morning to to share the story and innovation of the Strengthening School Community Accountability for Girls Education, abbreviated as SAGE, which is part of the Dreams Innovation Challenge. The project is focusing on keeping adolescent girls in school. And the background context is that school dropout in Uganda is a real challenge, with only 36% of the girls completing secondary education, and with only 24% transitioning to senior 5. You can see the challenge there, that there is a big dropout. And our goal for this project is to improve retention of the adolescent girls aged 13 to 19 years in secondary school and to reduce HIV infection. Our target is 38,750 in 151 schools in the 10 districts where DREAMS is being implemented in Uganda. We have 3 key objectives. The first one is to establish an early warning system that is adolescent-led to prevent school dropout that Rebecca was referring to all the time that she spoke. The second one is to strengthen school community linkages to support adolescent girls to remain in school in order to reduce new HIV infection. And the third one is to strengthen the linkages with healthcare providers for youth-friendly reproductive health services, including HIV counseling and testing, referrals for HIV care treatment, and adherence support. Our theory of change is that if the adolescent girls at risk of dropping out of school are identified early enough by their peers and they are monitored, I am sorry, I forgot that, sorry. And they are monitored through the early warning system, and if the learning environment of the adolescent girls is improved at home, at school, and in the community, and the adolescent girls' needs are provided in a systematic way by the parents, community leaders, and other supportive structures, then the adolescent girl will remain in school and their potential risk for HIV will be significantly reduced. Because research has shown that the longer we keep the girls in school, the more they're empowered with the information, skills, and experiences that helps them to make informed decisions about their lives. This is what Rebecca was referring to, right? The early warning system uses the 3 predictors. Oh my God, sorry. Uses the 3 predictors, the ABC. The A stands for attendance, B stands for behavior, and C stands for course performance. Sorry. This is the innovation, the adolescent-led early warning system. which is dealing with the social, cultural, and economic factors that lead to school dropout. Rebecca outlined them. I'm not going to go through that. I want to emphasize the fact that we work very closely with adolescent girls. They help us to identify those girls at risk. They help us to refer the cases they cannot handle. They deal with the cases they are able to handle because we know that the adolescents listen to their peers much more than they listen to us. So we work with them. They are co-implementers. And they are supported by 9 adult members to form the Stay in School Committee that comprises between 12 to 15 people per school. And they use the early warning system to identify the challenges using the 3 predictors. Because we know school dropout does not happen just like this. It happens as a process. So the early warning system helps us to look at those early signs. For example, if the girl does not come to school every day, if the girl comes late every day, that affects the attendance, but we know that those are signs that that child is having problems that we need to dig into, which the peer educators and the Stay in School Committee deal with to prevent dropout. The same to behavior, we look at the signs that behavior problems are cropping up and performance as well. So, this is what we've learned, that the early warning system is actually effective in predicting school dropout. And from the registers that we use as evidence for taking records of the girls' attendance every day, and also the monitoring the behavior and the course performance, we realize that the early warning system is very good in predicting dropout, but course performance stands out as one of the key factors for dropout, because the girls do report that actually, however well you behaved, even if you have school fees, if you do not perform well, then chances are that you might actually end up dropping out of school. We've also realized or recognized that with the early warning system and the Stay in School Committee structure, especially the peer educators, a lot of the girls' performance has improved. Because like Rebecca says, they form groups to support the weak ones so that they can improve on their performance. The SAGE model, we've realized from our statistics and data that is highly effective at preventing school dropout. Because once the Stay in School Committee identifies the issues, the peers deal with some of it, the adults deal with some of that, and referrals are made so that the girls are prevented from dropping out of school. And we have a success rate of between 94 up to 99%. The statistics is there, and we have the presentations, and I think we can read from that as well. In addition to prevention, we also have supported through this project the adolescent girls to understand the importance of taking HIV test, and up to 23,449 have so far taken HIV test and know their status. In addition, like Rebecca said, the adolescent girls are taught how to make their own reusable pads because initially, lack of menstrual hygiene materials was a key challenge, and it used to be part of the reasons for dropout. But like Rebecca testified, it's not anymore because the girls now know how to make their own pads. They make it for use, but they also make some of it for sale to take care of their other needs. We have a number of lessons learned, but I will not go through each and every one of them. I just want to share some of the key lessons from this project. One, that the early warning system is a good way of helping in identifying the girls at risk of dropping out of school, and that we can use it to follow them up to their homes and deal with the root causes of the problem so that they're able to be supported to remain in school. Even those that fall off can be followed and brought back to school like Rebecca. Two, that the early warning system actually uses available resources. So it's doable, it's scalable. Three, the school fees is a big challenge that is still causing children to fall out of school, despite the fact that we have a system like the early warning system that actually identifies them ahead of time. And it is important to engage the entire community because it takes a community to keep a girl in school and safe. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you very much. We continue our 360, and we will now look at the experiences of a project that deals with bridge to employment. Judy?
Good morning. Good morning. I'm so excited to be here this morning to share about our project that is keeping girls at work. This one is the other one was keeping girls in school. This other one is a bridge to employment. It's a continuous process. Once they leave high school, now they need to go and find some work. The Vusha Girls Employability Program is implemented by the African Center for ICT, which is an indigenous organization based in Nairobi, Kenya. We have 23 projects in East Africa, and 6 of these are in Focal Area 5, a bridge to employment. So ACWIT is one of the projects that is helping girls to find work in Nairobi and Kisumu. That's Constantine right there. Since she's not here today, we thought it's good to start with a photo. So this is one of the graduation ceremonies that were held. And you can see our Deputy Chief of Mission, Mirembe. She was there. They've supported us a lot, the US Embassy. This is the background of the DREAMS project in general, but it's a bit specific to Bridge to Employment and the background for ACWIT. So we have a high prevalence of HIV. Kisumu and Nairobi, they are the 3rd and the 4th highest in the country. We have youth unemployment in Kenya. This is 26.2 is in Kenya, but it ranges from 15 to about 40 or even 60 in some counties. We have so many girls who are having children, 15 to 19 years. You can see it's 18.1%. This is in Kisumu specific. And then physical gender-based violence is a big problem, and you can see the statistics there, about 23 and 33% for the girls. The target for ACWIT was 1,000 AGYW completing the Workforce Development Program. This is a USG indicator for training and life skills building. And the outcome was to link 800 girls to new or better jobs, and then to complete referrals for HIV testing for 80% of the girls, and also to improve the knowledge and perceptions in gender and HIV issues for 80% of the girls. So this is the implementation framework and the process for ACWIT. And the innovation here is it's a skill-based training, which is short, 3 months, and it's combined with theory and practical. So instead of a girl having to go to school for 1 year, they go for 3 months and then 3 months of internship. But the training is combined. You go to class in the morning, you go to do the skills practices in the afternoon. And then it's demand-driven. So we are going, ACWIT is going to the communities and mobilizing. That is to create the demand. And then they screen the girls and do vulnerability checks. And at the same time, they're talking to the employers to identify the skills gap. What is the skill that is missing? So that we are training focused on the need, the demand. Then at the same time, they're assessing the VTIs, these are vocational training institutes, and drawing MOUs with the institutes. And they use the government accredited VTIs and also the curriculum. That's one of the unique things about ACWIT. And at the same time, they're establishing mechanisms to do referrals and linkages for other services that are not offered in ACWIT. So jumping into the results, you can see that ACWIT has managed to train 92% of the girls, and then place 672 of the girls into new or better employment. The target was 800, that's why it's 84%. And then changing the knowledge on HIV by for 572. This is increased knowledge. They do a baseline and then an end line. So that number represents those who had increased knowledge. And then the referrals for HTS completed for 293 of the girls. You know, it's voluntary. And 46 of these, 46 of the girls came with their male partners. Because this is the protocol that the protocol encourage you to come with your partner. And then 44% had better views on gender-based violence. Because, you know, since there's so much gender-based violence, the girls, and generally, perceive it to be normal. They perceive it to be normal to be beaten around for minor things. So we need to work on this perception. So this is what the indicator is telling us. So it means 44% had better views. So it means we have more work to do to change the norms and perceptions, which takes time. Sorry, I should have mentioned about the outcome, that little chart on the left. Because the focal area is focused on improving financial independence, ACWIT did a tracer survey. They surveyed 250 girls to find how much they are getting, even after placing them into jobs. And you can see that even though most of them are getting about 5,000 to 10,000 Kenya shillings, that's about $50 to $100 a month. There are others that are getting a better pay, and this improves with time. It may not look like a lot of money, but Sheila can tell you that $50 a month can be the turning point for AGYW and indeed the normal population, because some have nothing. Like Sheila will tell you she was earning like $1 per day. So 50 per month takes them above the $1 per day. Job placement by trade. I won't dwell so much on this slide, but what we are saying is that if you look at the girls that have been trained and those linked to employment, you can see that the technical courses, they have a lot of potential. It means that girls are able to do the courses and get the job. So it means that demand is there just as much as the other courses. So mechanics, electricals, ICT, girls can do it. If we identify the market well and train and place them, there's high potential there for the girls. Challenges, again, quite a number of them, but we won't go through all of them. But you can see that from the beginning, the background, the AGY debuts are young mothers. So sometimes they are not able to complete the courses because maybe they have nobody to take care of their children at home. So some drop out. And that was about 8%, but ACWIT did something about it. The baby care services and enrollment during the extension period for those who dropped out. Then follow-up of the girls after the training is a challenge because some of them don't have numbers, and just by the nature that they are vulnerable. And they are out there, unlike girls who are in school. So when they go out there, sometimes it's hard to put them together and find out how they are doing. So this is kind of a challenge. Gender-based violence, both at home and also at work, and this is a contextual problem. We found that when they are enrolled in the VTIs, sometimes the partners want to ask, where are you going now? Why are you going to be trained? Even if it's a boyfriend, it's a threat. Or even when they start earning this income, it becomes a problem, and you find there's violence at home just because that the girl now cannot stay at home. She's working, she's able to do things that she was not able to do. So ACWIT has sometimes had to intervene with the males, the partners, and also refer the girls to the partners that are doing GBV when the complaints come through to them. And then the implementation framework for the minimum wage is still a challenge at country level. It's not really something we can address right away, but ACWIT has been negotiating for the best deals for the girls, even though they are so young, to get a better salary. But they've made quite successful marks with that. We also have the general one, and this is a dreams challenge of why the girls and not the boys. So we've always clarified on the dreams TOC, and we are encouraging male champions as part of the programming for other projects that are aspiring to do dreams work. And I think we've talked about this. You can see the enabling factors, and those are pictures. Our ambassador, the project, the Dr. Tamu Godek over there. They've all been to the project, and thank you.
Thank you, Judy. We understand. Reminder that the slides are available. A reminder that next up is Sheila, who is not just a graduate of her project, but also an ambassador speaking on behalf of ACWIT. Please.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning. I'm privileged to be here, and I thank God for this far. I'm Sheila Kothomolo. I'm 21 years old. I did my Kenya Certificate of Primary Education in 2011, where I attained a marks of 265. Thereafter, I joined a secondary school at St. Peter's Konem, where I attained a mini grade of C-. In 2016, when I was to join a college in September, by bad luck, I lost my dad, who was our sole breadwinner. In short, he was our A to Z in the family. The death of my dad dealt a heavy blow in the family because he was our everything. My mom could not continue to pay my school fees because I was having my younger sisters who was also at school. So I could not put that much burden. He must take me to college. At least we have to support the younger siblings to even reach the level I was. The situation got so hard. and this drove me to work in a rice farm where I was being paid 100 shillings, which could not even put a food on table, could not even pay my school fees. In 2017 April, I met a friend of mine who told me about the Dream Innovation Challenge. I liked the program and I applied. They registered me. By good luck, they paid my college fee. I was trained for 3 months. I took a course of my choice. That one is a motor vehicle mechanics, which I'm very sure most girls doesn't like, but it was my choice. Yeah. Beside being trained in motor vehicle mechanics, I was also taught life skill, communication skills in the school. Thereafter, they took me for an internship in the same county, Kisumu, in Tamotos Garage, which is located near Aga Khan. In the internship, we are doing work, but being not paid, but I remained humbled because I knew at the end of that, I could get something great. I was there for an internship for 3 months. Thereafter, the boss of the garage offered me a job as a full mechanic in the garage, whereby, thank you. The boss offered me with a job there. I worked and I was being paid sometimes 500, sometimes 800, which aids me to satisfy my needs, satisfy the needs of my mom, and even help my mom pay my younger sister's school fee. And this also prevents me from getting involved in such activities that could risk my life and get infected with HIV and AIDS. Because you see, when you are busy, your mind is busy. You don't have a room for an evil thought. You just think of working. I find it great within me. Luckily enough, not to stop there, in this year, September, I applied through online for Toyota Kenya advised of a training. I applied. And out of the 900 who applied, I was selected one of the 14 individuals to join Toyota Kenya Academy to partake a course of advanced motor vehicle mechanics. I study part-time. Thank you. I study part-time, and the rest of my time, I go to job. That I mean, in every 2 months, I go to class 1 week, and the rest of the time, I go to my job. I thank the dreams because they have made me visible. If were not for the dreams, the Toyota could not have identified me from the village. It's because of the dreams the Toyota people identified me. The dreams have made me self-independent. I can satisfy my need by my own. I can pay the fees of my younger sisters. They can also go to school. I thank dreams. I salute to all the donors. May God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. Power in educating women and young women. I next will ask Jane to come and tell us about an entirely different angle to ensuring girls get truth in justice.
Thank you. It's terrible to have to follow Sheila and Rebecca, but it's so wonderful for me to hear them because they also remind me of the hundreds and hundreds of young people that we have worked with too and who have benefited from Dreams programs and our platform of the public library in Zambia. And everybody's story is different. So hopefully you'll get to hear more stories in the future as well. So our organization is a professional library development organization that is focused on building the capacity of librarians, public librarians in Africa, to address important issues. And when we saw the Dreams Challenge, when we saw that opportunity came out to address perhaps the most important issue in the society we were working in Zambia, fighting the unexpected rising of the HIV infection rate of adolescent girls after all of the years of PEPFAR's work that had pushed that infection rate in the other direction. We knew these girls, and we knew what problems they faced and what were some of the real drivers behind those shocking statistics that had nothing to do with just pure medicine. So what our innovation was, what we proposed, was the public library. The public library is the innovation, as a platform, as a gateway to a suite of services and programs that we knew could make a difference in girls' lives. So, yes, so that is our innovation. We have several libraries in Zambia, and our project sites were limited to Lusaka. So we had two Labuto libraries, and then one community center that's the site of a future Labuto library whose construction is about to begin thanks to the USAID's American Schools and Hospitals Abroad program. So, not coincidentally, our different programmatic areas are those that reflect the areas that really make a successful library, a good collection of resources, effective programming and outreach. And so, as you all might be expecting of a library, we provided confidential access to a wide range of unbiased and high-quality resources, both print and digital, and on sexual reproductive health and HIV prevention, as well as stories about female leaders around the world and various things that we could provide not only through materials but also by visits from female leaders in various fields. We provided a comprehensive secondary school scholarships as well. And as Rita said in Uganda, that is a real limitation, and that's one that needs to be overcome. Our Dreams Grant allowed us to pay for the first year of schooling, of secondary schooling for 53 girls, but the second year, our organization itself raised the funds through crowdfunding, and our Dreams Grant has ended, but the scholarships will continue to see the girls all the way through secondary school. And that's really one of the important facts about it. And our innovation is a permanent institution. So we've already raised the funds to pay for the girls' third year of school, which will begin in January. And thank you. The other areas, though, are programming that libraries are expert at, and maybe some of you didn't know that, but if you think about your own public library and the programs that happen there all the time in this country, you'll see that libraries always partner with community institutions, and they know how to offer programs and publicize them in the community and get programs that are meeting needs that they identify in the community. So our mentoring program has been key to a large part to the success in helping girls understand what they can do in the world and to be guided and led and inspired by leaders. So some of the mentoring was done by our own staff that did in library talks with delivering a reproductive health curriculum and a gender-based equity and sexual health program. But a lot of the mentoring was done by either leaders coming to speakers coming and speaking in the libraries, or taking the girls on field trips. And 888 attended these field trips and career talks with a bus that we were able to get under the project, and we will continue to use to be able to expand the horizons of girls and boys in the future as well. Many of the girls just sort of naturally, after they completed a mentoring program, wanted to come back and repeat it, and most of those girls became peer leaders. And a large number of girls actually did that and have gone back to their villages and to other places around and shared their knowledge on things like setting goals and various things that help raise their self-esteem. We have a family literacy program that again was started under our Dreams grant, but will continue. And it's to help young mothers develop foundational skills. And while they are doing that at our libraries, we have simultaneous early childhood programming to care for their children so that they can go and learn and develop themselves, and their children can profit as well. The other thing about the library is, as I mentioned, libraries work with partners. It was a natural for us to be working with partners in the community, both other Dreams partners who came and offered HIV prevention programs or sexual and reproductive health programs in the libraries, as well as other community partners that were not Dreams grantees, but also had things to contribute in that area. And I think we were able to extend the reach of the Dreams grant through that way. We had a number of HIV testing and counseling sessions that reached a lot of young people on site over the period of the 2 years. And the thing that I think shows the impact of our particular innovation, the platform of the library, is that we have 100% of the HIV testing and counseling referrals were completed. And that is not a common statistic. The folks from PEPFAR will tell you. And it's because, because we were able to bring on another Dreams partner, Lat Kings, and girls would come in and they would be mentored, and they would sign up the forms to go for counseling and testing, and they would walk outside the library and there would be the testing counselors. So it's not magic. It really shows just the power of an institution that is there that can organize these things. And finally, I mentioned that outreach was an important factor, an important part of what libraries do, and we conducted lots of outreach programs, and that's what, and community mobilization events at the libraries, including film screenings and drama performances, bringing in some of the other programming that we have in our libraries. So of the lessons learned, there were some challenges. We're not your standard public health organization. Public libraries are free and open to everyone. And so we weren't used to, as open, inclusive spaces, we weren't used to excluding people, to offering programs that only target a specific group and having to tell others that, they can't participate. So we've never, been able to have to restrict programs by age or gender. And the gender exclusion generated some resentment among boys. But we were able to overcome those challenges by having other programs, by having community volunteers. Our organizations have something like 70 volunteers in Zambia, people in the community that simply want to come and get involved. And so we did find ways for those young people, and will continue to in the future. It's a problem if something you do is seen as so valuable that everyone wants it, and we don't need to make that a problem. We had a problem ensuring consistent attendance to some of the educational programs that were, you needed to complete a whole course under Dreams to show that you have, gained this knowledge. And so what we did with that, because people can come to our libraries or not, they weren't used to being told that they had to come, like you have to come to school. And so what we did is we introduced makeup sessions and gave girls multiple chances to attend the mandatory sessions. One other challenge is that something we have to admit to ourselves, we still have a long way to go to get among public health partners, to get them to really understand how libraries are a valuable platform. I hope all of you can help us with that, and that through time those perceptions will change. We did not have a challenge at all in identifying programmatic partners once the organizations understood what we were doing. So we just have to keep telling the story and showing them. And we did have a little trouble fitting into referral systems that were already overburdened by a large number of public health partners working under Dreams. But that, again, is perhaps a good problem. Certainly, that will be something that I assume will even out in the future as well. But our successes and our strengths, again, the public, what we knew and we were happy to show people, I think, is that the public library is a well-known and trusted institution. It's not a school and it's not a clinic. And it's a place that young people have just come to, they want to be there for a wide variety of reasons. And they know that they can trust the adults that they encounter there who are helping them in a wide variety of ways, and including programming. And we have drama programming and art programming and all kinds of things. We have 3 times a week story time, deaf story time, a sign language story time. We make a particular effort to reach out to to disadvantaged children, and we are reaching people who are out of school. And we have found that that's a particular area for partnership, that we've met a number of research partners, for example, who want to do research, and it's very often trying to reach this cohort that isn't in school and isn't going to be going to a clinic, and we can help them and we can connect them and become a research platform. We didn't see, because of the short length of this project, we didn't see a lot of major research partners able to initiate a research project through our libraries in the course of the project, but because they already had, plans going on with their research projects, but a number have expressed interest in doing that in the future. So that will be a longer-term outcome, I think. But it's really important to just sort of understand that in that environment, this is a new institution that just didn't exist, and it gives lots of opportunities all around. The other thing is that our libraries are very responsive and flexible according to individual needs. And so, for example, our scholarships were based on financial need, not academic merit. And what we've seen over the years is that there are lots of organizations that will offer scholarships, usually for just a specific period of time, and they very often want to take the people who have the potential for performing very strongly academically. And some of our scholarship recipients did very poorly at first. They just weren't prepared to be in school and do well. So what we were able to do to adjust to them and their individual needs is to introduce tutoring in the libraries, homework help, new resources like curriculum DVDs from the government, from the Ministry of Education, past exam papers. Those were things that we knew that they needed to help get them through. I guess the most important thing about our innovation is that it will extend beyond the end of DREAMS and will continue. We've recently received a grant from one of the DREAMS partners that was mentioned earlier, VIV, to be able to, which will help us bring our programs down to a rural library in the southern province to help fight early marriage. And we'll be using things like maker spaces and other things to help girls and their mothers gain skills. And, I guess that's the essence of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you very much. Let's appreciate our very determined and resilient and empowered ambassadors who joined us this morning and shared. Let's also appreciate the attentive audience, all of you, and the staff here who really are mentoring and preserving a safe space for the young women. Let us all appreciate ourselves with another round of applause. So we've gotten to the space that is generally the most satisfying and affirming for all of us, and that is the space where we get to ask each of the panelists to say a few more words on areas that are of particular importance to us. So I want to acknowledge that there are those of us here present with us and those who are listening online, that this is the time for you to send us your questions. As you think about your questions, I'm going to ask a couple of the panelists to comment on a few. Just one for World Vision. I'd like to ask the World Vision staff to say a little bit more about how your Stay in School committee structure hangs together and stay motivated and courageous enough to do what they do. If you could comment on that, please. And then to ACWIT, I'd like to ask of them an explanation of how the legal and regulatory framework in which they operate, for example, the discussion around minimum wage, that hinders the results that we all seek. I would like a comment on how the project addresses those. So a question for each as you put your questions together. World Vision? And please, we want brief questions that are to the point, and we want from our panelists brief responses that are equally to the point.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. Responding to how the Stay in School Committee hangs in together and is motivated to continuously support the adolescent girls. First and foremost, the way they are selected. The individuals selected are selected because of their commitment to support adolescent girls' education. We draw the adults from the faith leaders, the exemplary teachers, the old boys and girls who are willing to serve, and representatives from the Parents Teachers Association and the boards of governors, who are all interested in ensuring that the girls succeed.
Thank you.
And the adolescent girls are selected by their peers because of their ability to transfer knowledge, the way they are exemplary to them, and how they are responsive to their needs and willing to share information with them and build their capacity. So the interest is number one that keeps them together, and their willingness to support. But also they have monthly meetings that keeps them checking with each other how things are going.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you like to add anything to that, Rebecca?
No.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Acquit, would you care to comment on dealing with legal framework?
Yes, so this has been work in progress, and it's a balance between getting the girls the jobs and also the sizes of the employers. Sometimes they are really small. But I know that this is work that they're doing. They're getting big on it by working with the Federation of the Kenya Employers. Continued advocacy, because it's a nationwide problem at whichever levels. And I know that in the new they have a new project like Dreams that has been funded by Motorola. And this is one of the areas that ACWIT wants to expound on. And it hadn't been really factored into this project being a short project, but it's an area that is a gap, and they're going to go wide on that.
Thank you, Judy.
Yeah.
Questions from the audience? I'll take two at a time. Okay, I see two hands there. Remember, to the point, please. The gentleman in the back in the purple.
Hi, I'm just. Oh, you have a microphone even. Oh, very well. Hi, I'm Justin Fugo with Plan International. Thank you for this interesting program. The program is very holistic, but I haven't heard much about early forced and child marriage, and I wondered, do you have components of the programs that work on preventing child marriage specifically?
Let's take the second before the panelists respond.
Building off of Justin's question, my name is Suzanne Petroni. I have a consultancy called Gender Equality Solutions. So for ACWIT in particular, I'm curious, you mentioned as one of the challenges you face motherhood, but is marriage also a challenge for getting girls to enroll in the program and then to stay in it? And I ask that in terms of whether girls are concerned that working will inhibit their chances of finding a good husband, or if the husbands are not supportive of the girls working. And then very quickly, a second question for World Vision. It's great that you're using the adolescent girls themselves as the early warning system. Curious as to whether they're compensated for their work and their time, both to help recruit and work with the girls at risk and to create support groups to keep other girls in school.
Okay, let's ask our panelists to respond. And Rebecca, you are a part of the response for SAGE as well. Okay, go ahead, Rita.
Yeah, thank you. Regarding working with adolescent girls, as to whether we compensate them for their time, we work with them because they are part of the school system and they work within the school environment mostly. And for the activities that are outside the school, except when they're in their own community, they refer to the adult stay in school committee members to follow up those girls that have dropped out of school or have issues that need to be followed up, because we do not want them usually to miss school and go out and do work in the community when it is school time. They only do that when they are within their own community. We do not pay them. One, because we know it is not sustainable. If we start paying them when the program stops and it is associated with cash, the likeliness of them stopping to do this good work will be high.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want this program to stop with the funding.
Okay, and early marriage?
Issues to do with early marriage are actually handled within the Dreams SAGE program. We just did not speak about the comprehensive nature in which the SAGE model is. But we have a whole training package on ending violence against children. And that covers child marriage, that covers forced marriage, and other forms of violence. And we train teachers, we train school administrators, we train the peer educators themselves, and we work with a range of stakeholders that are actually dealing with issues to do with forced and child marriages.
Excellent, thank you.
So for marriage, whether it's a factor in completion in the training, as I mentioned before about the GBV, GBV is both at home and at employment level. So, and it's not only physical. So we've seen cases where the girls are enrolled, but they can't complete because of the conflict at home. So, and this is where now ACWIT comes in to intervene. And this has been successful. The same case as earning. When you start earning, it also sometimes it causes this conflict at home. And again, ACWIT is working with the specific case by case. About early and child marriage, ACWIT is not having any program specific to this because the niche is ICT and digital literacy. But what they are learning is the need to be broader, not narrowed down, because the girls they are working with are affected by many more things, and there's need to contextualize not just the girl, but also the family interventions, and also the community and the society. So they need to broaden out and work with the likes of World Vision.
And their responses as well to provide childcare for young women who are mothering
Yes, when there's nobody to take care of the child, they are able to come to the center because it's for 3 months and also 3 months internship to take the institutions have been able to take care of those girls, but not all of them. Some of them, they have mothers to take care of the children. So it's on need basis as well.
Thank you. Jane?
The mentoring programs that we have, and I think probably all of the mentoring kinds of activities that all of the Dreams organizations have that are aimed at raising self-esteem and just helping girls envision a future are, we feel something that militates against early marriage in at least in terms of the girl's own perceptions. Forced marriage is a very different thing, and I think requires a lot of advocacy. And certainly, we have seen that problem much more in rural areas than we do in Lusaka, in the capital city. And that's why I mentioned that we have a project following on to particularly fight against early and forced marriage. There are laws against marriage. I can't remember the age, but I believe it's 16, under 16 in Zambia. It's illegal with the national laws to force a girl to be married. But there's a different legal system there, which is the traditional. Under traditional authorities, girls are even expected to marry at a much younger age. And it's those traditional authorities that we work with in the rural areas. And we've had events where we've brought them to the libraries, and we've talked very explicitly about the rights that we are fighting for on behalf of all of the young people we serve, but particularly the girls who are victimized by that in a much worse, particularly in the rural areas.
Thank you. Thank you. Other questions from the audience? I recognize the woman in the purple sweater. And there's another hand, a gentleman with the glasses there in the suit.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Corey Warnell. I work with USAID, and about a decade ago, I did a program evaluation for a pilot program in Kisumu that was doing something your project, Judy, is very similar to. They were training young women on vocations, and the 3 vocations they had chosen were actually very saturated in the community. So even after the women were coming out of the training program, they couldn't find jobs. So I'm very excited to see that you've done a community assessment of jobs that are still in need. And I was hoping you would talk just a little bit more about how you're doing that and if it's expanding into other vocations that are more technological based, getting more into the computer systems, or medically based, kind of what the future for jobs are for the young women in the area.
And a second question?
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Mkoyo, Chairperson, Uganda AIDS Commission. I'm particularly happy to be here today. First of all, to thank the U.S. people who are supporting the DREAMS programs in their respective countries. I've seen it in Uganda in my various work and movement in the various regional accountability forums. And it really, the testimonies are excellent. There's something they didn't talk about today that's empowering the young women. You know, adolescent girls and young women are the most at risk in Uganda. And I've noted what we've already seen, putting girls in school and making them empowered, but also those that cannot make it to school. I've seen young women being supported to become, to develop innovative, self-sustaining projects that supports them to come up, income-generating activities that are supporting them. And we as government, we are looking at how best to scale DREAMS activities across the country, because it brings all these outcomes that are wonderful. They bring a smiling face on our young girls and women, but also ensure that people don't get HIV/AIDS. Those that have HIV/AIDS are really kept on treatment. Those that are not HIV positive, then we make sure that they remain negative. So thank you very much, all those that are supporting this program. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Of course, a reminder that these programs then fall into your lap for sustaining in country. Thank you for that. A second question from our Twitter audience for Sheila and Rebecca. What effects have you noticed your success has had on your community, especially your peers and your older members? So, what have you noticed in terms of the impact of your success on your community, especially your peers and those who are older?
Thank you very much. Answering the question, my success, like going back to school and completing my education, like secondary level, has inspired my peers, because those days before, they knew that when you drop out of school and the next thing is marriage. And maybe after marriage, children will come and responsibility will come, and the next thing is poverty and suffering. But when I get back to school, missing 2 terms and becoming the top of my class inspired them a lot. And those who drop out of school, the few actually who dropped out of school, they don't get married very fast. And parents have learned not to marry their daughters off when there is no money for school fees. As a peer educator at school, Dreams taught me how to be a role model, actually, to behave well, to be exemplary to the rest of the students, which has helped a lot to improve on the discipline in school. Because if I'm teaching the peers to be disciplined, me myself, I'm disciplined. If I'm forming group discussions with them, they know I'm a brilliant girl, like forming group discussions with them. Not like, this girl is also forming group discussion. Yes, she's the last in class. No. If I'm advising them, like, to have good behaviors, me myself, I have good behaviors. And my success has helped a lot in improving discipline in school, and also inspiring them to aim higher than before, and also to change their mindset in my community, not to marry their daughters off when there is no money for school fees, but to aim higher and work hard, like teaching them life skills, teaching them other small work like baking, knitting, and the rest to earn a living and other things. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sheila?
Thank you very much. The effect that the dreams giving me job that have inspired me much is that they have given me job. They have prevented my mind from being idle. As you know very well, an idle mind is a palace for every evil thoughts. So I have no that time of involving myself in risk activity. And also, they have made me self-independent. And even in the family, I can proudly say I am my mom number one to my mom. Though I'm the 8th child, but I appear number one to her. Because the other siblings, I'm number 8, the remaining ones got married in an early age. So I was the one being looked at the next. After you are Form 4, you need to get married. But that was not my portion. My portion is of success. Thank you.
Thank you. Employability needs assessment.
Okay, so what ACWIT is doing is that they do a rapid labor market survey, and the intention is to find out how many employers are in that county and in what trades. Then once they establish that, they call for employers roundtable meetings. And we have another grantee in Kisumu, for example. So what they did is a joint employers roundtable, for efficiency. So in this employers meeting, they are able to identify what are the skills gaps, and not only the skills, what are the issues with the employees that they are having, especially the young ones. one of the employers is called Somerset. It's an ICT and digital trade. And one of the gap, for example, was coding. You know, they didn't have enough staff to do the coding. And once they get staff, they don't stay for long. You know, they move on to other things. So there was the retention component. So ACWIT has a large cohort on ICT and coding, not only in Dreams, also in other projects, because they're also running other projects. And they purpose to focus on what that employer wants. And also for the retention, they do a lot of employability, including the mentorship, also the behavioral component. So that's how they are doing it.
Thank you.
And also for the Dreams Core, we have the larger Dreams program has a database of girls that need to go into these VTIs, and they have not been doing this previously. So when ACWIT calls for applications, they actually target those IPs that are doing the Dreams, the implementing partners for the Dreams, the big Dreams, the larger program, and they are actually able to vet the specific girls from their Dreams database that are suitable for these courses. And this has worked very well because about 15% of the girls that are graduating and getting employed are from the larger Dreams program, who have already been vetted by the Dreams, the programs themselves. So this works.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you very much. I recognize a question here. The woman up front. I haven't been looking at the people in front, so may I ask for this woman in the purple sweater and this woman on the end in the black and blue.
Thank you very much. My name is Janet Fleischman with the CSIS Global Health Policy Center. And it's really wonderful to hear about the programs, and particularly from Rebecca and Sheila about some of your own experiences here. So I have two quick questions. One to Rebecca and Sheila. You've talked a lot about the problem of girls getting pregnant and dropping out. But there wasn't a lot of talk about access to information and services on family planning. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of that in your communities for girls to be able to stay in school, to be able to access these economic opportunities? So the linkages between economic empowerment and education for girls and access to family planning and women's health services. And then the second question is about sustainability of the program. Because we understand that the Innovation Challenge has ended in some cases or is ending soon. So how do you see this going forward to be something that can be sustained and scaled up?
Thank you.
I'm Janine Carmichael from FHI 360. I was also going to ask about program sustainability, but I'll add a slight spin on that, which is to direct the question toward Rebecca and Sheila, and to ask you what you think you and your peers need going forward in order to sustain the successes that you've had under these projects.
Thank you. Would you like to start off on the last? What do you think?
Okay, thank you. About the family planning, when you were being trained at the college, you were taught all these, but it was of your choice. You were taught different ways of family planning, the use of condoms, but specifically the individuals, you were taught to choose that one of your choice that you would like. Thank you.
And what do you need to sustain your successes? Did I interpret that
Sustain
right?
my success, as per me, is hard work. Yeah.
Thank you.
Because with me, I work in the field of men-dominated field. But if not hard work and courage, you cannot manage. It is hard work that involves. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you very much for that question. Concerning family planning, because for us we're in-school girls, but as I said before, that other girls, they have asexual feelings, so they cannot abstain. So we advocate for the use of condoms, and we request that the school should avail it to the school nurse so that these girls can use. Because I think apart from abstinence, use of condom is the best for in-school girls. Thank you.
Sage, could you add a response there? Do you make referrals for family planning?
Thank you very much. Regarding family planning for the in-school, there is a policy, especially from Ministry of Education and Sports, that family planning shouldn't be accessed in school. And so the girls are referred for family planning services outside the school with the nearest facilities that are next to the schools, so that they can be counseled and guided and they can make their choices. Yeah.
Thank you. Other comments?
Yeah, for ACWID, on family planning, they're working with other Dreams, the larger Dreams program, and also bar hostess for PrEP. So they actually bring bar hostess to talk about PrEP and also other projects, so that the girl has options where to go and get these services as needed.
Dabutu, any comments on that?
Basically, yeah, we do all of those same, and they will be sustained and will continue to be sustained through any partners that can continue to offer these programs. We certainly stay with girls and boys long beyond graduation from high school. We are with them. We simply are with them. It is sustained. There's no end.
I think maybe the issue of sustainability from Sage as well as ACWID, if you could comment on that as well.
Okay. Regarding sustainability, the SAGE Dreams project is working with the Ministry of Education and Sports to develop a policy guideline on the early warning system, so that it is a system that is used eventually across the schools, because we've seen that it helps with identifying girls at risk, but also preventing school dropout. And we are working also closely with the Ministry of Health in Uganda to make sure that health education, especially on HIV prevention and friendly reproductive health education continues beyond the project, because the girls need information to make the right choices and to remain in school and HIV free.
Yeah, for ACWID, apart from the new project that they have wanted to continue with some of the Dreams work and improve the programming in terms of the challenges that they have faced, to also expand the lessons that they have learned. The curriculum, the skill-based curriculum, which is 3 months, has been adopted by the government. Actually, there was a launch that was done 2 months ago. So the government institutions are going to be offering these courses, and this will make it more affordable for the girls to join the colleges and complete at a wider scale. So those are the 2 things I can think about.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Judy. I think we've seen examples of movement forward in terms of the adoption of some of the models that have been tested by government and by the community at large. And this is, in fact, what we were hoping the Innovation Challenge would be able to do: open doors to opportunity. And we're seeing that demonstrated in the 3 programs that were presented here. We want to say thank you to our presenters, to our ambassadors, and to all of you for participating in this discussion. I would like to invite our representative from World Vision, Dorothy please, would you come up and just issue some closing remarks?
How do I follow all of that because it was wonderful. I'm so happy to meet Rebecca. Okay, Rebecca's our little friend here. She is famous in World Vision now because of that video that you saw earlier. Okay, it's been showed to our boards of directors, and everybody knows Rebecca. So it's really wonderful to meet you in person. I really just get to say thank you for what an awesome job you all did to present and to talk about these 3 different programming types, all very different, but all really looking at issues of adolescence. On your way out, there's a paper out there. I'm going to do a little PR for World Vision. It's a 2-pager on adolescence. And I was reading through that as I was listening to the conversations, and the statistics are startling, actually. And so one of my colleagues wrote this blurb. She said, there's never been a population bulge of this proportion among adolescents globally than there is now. About 1.2 billion people, or 1/5 the world's population, fits in this age range of 10 to 19. Okay, so what we're doing is important. It's important to pay attention to this group. And I liked what somebody said, and I forgot which speaker it was, that we're not focusing on the problems of adolescence, but the opportunities and the potential. And that's what we've heard today from all of our guests. So I just want to say thank you to each person who's been up here, our esteemed panelists, and for your presentations. Thanks to the Wilson Center for hosting us. There's a lot of work that goes into these kind of events, and so we really, really appreciate that. For PEPFAR, for the DREAMS team at PEPFAR that is funding us to do this work, to JSI, to ACWIC, and to Lubuto Libraries, which I'm very intrigued by what you're doing. I think it's really interesting approach. So thank you to everybody and for all the participants that have come today, and for supporting adolescents, okay, and for supporting the young people. And if I come to Kenya, I'm going to come to your mechanic shop to get my car worked on, okay? How's that, Sheila? That was an awesome story. So thank you to everybody, okay?